One of the consequences, though, of vaccines, when vaccines do a real good job, you need to do more of it, believe it or not. Because there is this other concept that we have called natural boosting. And the people who are vaccinated have just got naturally boosted. Even though we're all wearing masks, even though, we're all, in this college, we're all wearing masks, there has been exposures.
Vaccine.
It's a real vaccine. I've been looking at vaccines for 40 years. Of my entire professional career, I've been looking at vaccines and working on vaccines myself. And I have never seen a better vaccine than these mRNA vaccines. And I have no game in this. I have no horse in this race, because I work on HIV. I'd like to actually try the concept in HIV. I really would. I'm that excited about it. And I've never seen, usually I tell my students this. There's a big battle between vaccines. And the expression, that which does not kill you will only make you stronger, is very real. So the thing that takes you closest to death is the thing that protects you the most.
But that's not an ideal circumstance.
No, it's not. And then you have the thing that doesn't protect you, or doesn't have the most side effects, that doesn't harm you as much. Safety is the safest thing, which is, of course, doing nothing, is not effective. So efficacy and safety hate each other's guts, usually. This vaccine, all different. The mRNA vaccines, both of them. I see the side effects as being quite low. And the side effects of other vaccines a lot higher. And I see the efficacy being way up there. And that's rare. This is a rare situation. Of course, getting the disease is also a way of getting some immunity, but it's not preferable, I'll tell you that right now. And that's because what's going on with people who are long-term long haulers, we have another epidemic coming after this epidemic, after this pandemic, and that is a pandemic of autoimmune diseases. And that is from people who are like long haulers, who have, eventually your immune system goes, get the virus, get the virus, get the virus, get the virus. And sometimes there can be what we call mission sprawl, is the only way I can think of explaining it. And then you start going after what the virus is in, and that's self. And so there's and this is what, by the way, what type 1 diabetes is. Type 1 diabetes is that very thing. And I think we're going to see some more of that going on in the future. A lot of data out, by the way, recently. There's new data out from the CDC. They've kind of taken hospitalizations for the whole pandemic, all the way to beginning to end, and they've broken it down per age group. Now, always people over 70 are always on top, no matter what. That's always going to be the way it is with any disease. And in this particular case, though, in this Delta outbreak, which we are still in it. Things are looking better. I will admit that things are starting to look better, but we are still in the Delta, the Delta time, and the Delta realm, the Delta outbreak. We're still in that Delta outbreak, and I can see that there is, in places where people aren't vaccinated, we're seeing a lot of young people in hospitals. I mean, people that, are supposedly all, good and healthy and strong and all that kind of stuff. And that's a tragedy, because you go to places that are highly vaccinated, they're getting through this much better. So, I mean, they're protected. They're protected from disease.
In the simplest way, without using scientific jargon, can you tell me a little bit about why the vaccines that we have for COVID are different from other vaccines in terms of how long they last and the protection that they offer over time?
Okay, so we have 3 vaccines in this country. There's actually a lot more, but there's 3 in this country, and 2 of them are mRNA vaccines. And the way that they work is, let's talk to safety first. The safety of the vaccines is assured because you're not getting the entire virus, the entire 30,000 letters that make up a virus, you're only getting one gene. So it cannot possibly reconstitute itself into another virus. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a vaccine that is piggybacked on another virus. So a cold virus, one of the cold viruses, adenovirus, you tack on the gene from SARS-CoV-2 from the coronavirus, and you tack that into there, and then that gets into people and makes an immune response there. So that's also, both of them are going to be somewhat long lasting. And I really think the ones that we have, even without a boost, is not, they're fairly long lasting, and they will get us to the place where we need to be soon. But the problem is in most diseases, we don't have a huge reservoir of the virus circulating. This diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus vaccine, when I get mine, that's really an easy cover, because I've got two advantages to that. Number one, I'm getting a vaccine for something that's really just a boost at 60. I get this vaccine at 60, and I got it when I was a little kid. And the reason that we don't worry about boosting in your 20s and your 40s and your 50s is because there is not a tremendous amount of these diseases circulating in the population. That is not the case with when you have a pandemic. When you have a pandemic, there is a lot of virus circulating around. So we may in fact need that little bit of a for the immune system. That Marine sergeant that tells you, you get your shot, and the Marine sergeant starts barking orders at you and says, make an immune response. And then, yes, sir, I will do that. And sometimes you need to go back to training camp, and that's what the boost is. So it's trying to make you more fit. So you have to go back, because there is so much virus circulating still. We get rid of the virus in the whole world, we're in a lot better shape. One of the reasons that there is so much hesitancy in the scientific community about a third dose for these vaccines, I certainly personally, I think it's a great idea, especially since we may potentially hit another wave in the worst of times, which was like last winter, the winter months. Those are the worst of times. So I'm in favor of that kind of a thing, both personally and otherwise, and for the good of the community. However, the real big challenge right now is to eliminate the virus from circulation. If you can take more virus out of circulation, you can keep Delta from happening. Delta happened where? In India. In India, there was a massive production of virus. Massive production of virus. The virus was replicating in very, very high numbers. And it's sort of like the more times you say something, the more times you speak in public, the more times you're going to have a you're going to have a mistake. You're going to say something wrong. That's what Delta is it said something wrong, but it was wildly, if I can use an analogy, viral, and that mistake was very successful. It was like, sometimes you say something wrong and everybody says, wow, that's profound, and all of a sudden it's now the one thing. And by the way, the only thing. There's really not much competition out there from any of the other variants that you've heard of. Delta is the boss. Delta's in charge of this epidemic right now.
Based on your 40 years of experience and all the information that we have about the virus that's out there circulating right now, what's your best guess for what we're going to see over the next couple of years now in terms of, will we need booster shots every year? Will we continue to see new variants surfacing? Will we see a spike every winter? Or at some point, do you think here in the near future we might see it tamped down to the point where it's merely endemic?
We will see it go eventually endemic. That is the way things go. That is always the way things go. I think we will see a few more bursts. I'm very hopeful, actually, about the upcoming next year. I'm very hopeful about that, with one caveat. Great Britain I am very troubled by the fact that they have not yet overcome their Delta surge. Whereas in everywhere else, it has. In Great Britain, we still seem, but for the most part, we are seeing this get tamped down. Will we have more outbreaks? I think so, but they will be less hospitalizations and less